So today's webinar is about why no one wants to use your Jira and how to fix this, because this is something we were experiencing recently with some of our customers. Who we are? We are representing Divinity. Divinity is Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner, also the enterprise one. We are also the Platinum Marketplace Partner, which means that we are covering all the types of the activities around the Atlassian ecosystem, from producing our marketplace apps, through purchasing licenses, license management, and all the professional services you can imagine around the Atlassian ecosystem. We are focusing on the migration right now. This is a really hot topic in the ecosystem, and I believe all of you already heard about the data center end of life. So this is generating plenty of questions in the ecosystem. My name is Katarzyna Doroż-Żurkowska. I'm head of Atlassian services, around 13 years in the ecosystem already. And today with me, it's Simon.
Hi, hello. My name is Szymon Szorewicz. I'm Atlassian DevOps team leader. My team is mostly responsible for cloud migration, but still we do some upgrades and DC installation. We also take care about external and internal integration with applications and all of the things what happen in Atlassian Stack background.
Thank you, Szymon. As usual, we have a bonus for those who are attending our webinars. You can wait until the end of it and we will tell you a little bit more about what we have prepared for you today. Just the background why we are hosting this webinar. The cost of Atlassian licenses are growing, and probably all of you already know that. DC is growing as usual and in the February, and then we have the cloud pricing increase in October, since at least 3 years already. So if you are on the cloud, please make sure that you are thinking about the price increase which occurs in October 15th. You can lock your prices if you want to if you can and you want to do a transaction before this date. If you want to talk a little bit more about that, we are ready to try to find the solution for you, but please make sure you are reaching out to us by October 8th. It takes a little bit time to get all the quotation and figure out the best option for you. There is still multi-year pricing possible, so you can guarantee the price for next purchases. So let's think about that and maybe try to use this, because it's always better to pay less for the licenses if it's possible. And the connection with that is that we sometimes hear from the customer is that Jira is just the ticket board for the team, nothing more. We've prepared a poll for you. So if you are willing to answer this question, if this is something you are experienced on your team, or you've heard similar sentence from the different people in your organization, just say yes. If no, then fine. So in the poll section, there is a question for you. I hope that at least part of you will answer this question and will help us then building a story we have prepared for you. So we are waiting for the answers. Okay, there is plenty of people who are saying no, so it's quite good. It looks like your implementation maybe and the adoption of the tools are better than for part of the customers we are working with. So let's move further then. The next slide I need. Why you cannot afford of the underuse of the Atlassian products. Underusing Jira comes with hidden costs that most of organizations don't even realize. There are direct costs like paying for unused licenses, redundant apps, something which do the same thing, or there are also indirect costs like slowing onboarding for the new people, productivity loss, or the technical debt, which is growing over the time. The third example is the strategic cost, like leadership are losing trust in the data they are getting from Jira, or the innovation are stalls. We have silos between different units or teams. I believe that you will agree with the sentence. What looks like we just simply use Jira this way sometimes can actually be really expensive for the organization. Because of that, we've prepared the webinar why someone can say that the Jira is underused in the organization, There will be 6 dimensions of what we will mention, six categories, and at the end we want to do the Q&A session. Before I move to the proper content of the webinar, let's make sure that if you have a question, let's put it on the question section. We will answer in the end. There is a 6 dimensions we want to think about when we are speaking about the clever use of Atlassian. Atlassian can give you a value as an organization, but you need to be prepared for that, taking care of different dimensions, starting from the strategy and development of the instance, thinking about the documentation, system hygiene, user experience, security and compliance, and then the reporting. And from this landscape, we want to land in every of those categories and explain you a little bit why and how to be prepared in this area and think that your usage mature. So why strategy is the foundation? Without strategy, every team configures Jira differently. So it looks like a flexible, quickly becomes fragmentation, and we are having a silosis. Common symptoms, there is hundreds of workflows, duplicate fields, inconsistent naming. Admins are getting stuck because they need to firefight and improving the platform. This is why strategy isn't just nice to have. It's the foundation for the proper usage and adoption. I've heard many stories around that, but Shimon, there is one I would love to you share with the audience today.
I've got one example from one of our customers. They a tech team, and what problem they got? They have no consistent workflows. Each team can create its own statuses, and they've got it a lot. Like for example, test, ready for test, ready for test validation. So they are pretty the same, and this causing confusion in the teams. So also they've got overcomplicated boards, 50 plus mandatory fields per issue, and they don't have any dedicated system owner. They maintain and standardize the configuration by each other. So what the impact here? Developers switch to other application like GitLab or Trello. Stakeholders lost visibility here, and velocity and reports became unreadable. So what fixes we do? We appointed a dedicated Jira administrator and process governance committee. We will talk about these roles later. We standardized workflows. We reduced required fields from 50 to 10. And we implemented automatic issue assignments and automatic closing tickets and some other automations. And what is the results? Teams return with 2 months because sprint planning and reporting once again was simple and transparent for them.
Perfect. Thank you very much for sharing this. So there are different roles and different experience of lacking of consistency, and this can be influencing by the different ways. So the symptoms are different for different role. We don't want to deep dive into that right now because you can get back to that, see what kind of the symptoms you can experience, what is the impact, and what you can hear from the people in the organization. But then we have 2 fixes for that.
Yeah, when Jira is rolled out team by the team without any common plan, everyone can customize it. So at the beginning, we feel free and flexible with this, but at the end, it turns out to a big mess. We've got a lot of custom fields, workflows, etc. So what we should involve to that process, we need to have 3 roles. For the beginning, we've got business owners. They connect Jira to business strategy and budgets. We've got technical owners. They maintain platform health, scalability, and upgrades. But also we've got user representatives. Here we can add, for example, team leads or product owners, and they provide us feedback to keep our system relevant. So what does the governance board actually do on daily basis? So we've got 4 things here. First is centralized decision, no more surprises, custom fields or workflows. Every change is reviewed and approved. Second, approval standards like consistent naming, reusable workflow templates, and field usage rules. Third, we've got prioritized roadmap items. Here we can just change every proposed change is ranked and against business priorities and user impact. And on Jira Revolution at the end, it's turning into a managed strategic platform rather than collection or quick fixes.
So there is a second fix we want to talk about. It's about the roadmap. A governance board without a roadmap is still reactive. The roadmap is about creating a step-by-step plan and then follow it, because we can plan everything, but if we are not following the things we want to prepare for, then we are still not doing the proper job when we are speaking about the strategy. So, for example, we can plan that for Q1 we are doing the cleanups and standardization. Then, and the next quarter we will think about the automation, UX optimization, and at the end the advanced reporting, etc. So this order matters because you reduce the chaos at the first, then improve the user experience, and then you can demonstrate the business value, which is really important when we are thinking about the usage of Atlassian. So there are plenty of cleanup and standardization criteria you can deep dive. You can find what are important for you and your organization and how, for example, you can measure them. There is plenty of them in the different areas. You can find those which will be proper for you. But at the end, even though you have a plan, there should be a prioritization of those tickets. So we are suggesting to divide everything which you have on your roadmap into the high and low business impact and the complexity, because there is always a really easy way to find those quick wins and to implement them at the beginning to make sure that there will be a first visibility of your strategy implementation, which is always better when you are thinking about having people with you who are trusting you that you are doing good job because they see the improvements really quickly. Let's think about something which has a huge impact on end users, but sometimes it's really not complex to implement, and do this at the beginning. After that, we want to mention how the documentation is important because it's connecting dots with the strategy thing.
The documentation is often seen as optional in a lot of organizations, but it's a backbone of healthy Jira instance. So without it, critical knowledge sits in a few people's heads. And here we've got example for, let's say, Bob. Bob leaves our company. He was a Jira administrator, and we hired new person for replacement. And what's happened? That new person don't have any documentation. So the onboarding process was very long. It takes 6 months. This person tried to contact all of the people in the organization to help her, but still don't have correct answers. That person tried to look on other channels like Teams, Slacks, and other applications, and it takes 6 months to onboard properly. So this is very a big problem for that. After that, they maintain and prepare centralized knowledge base like Confluence. And in next time, a new person which was hired was on board much faster because it takes only 1 month instead 6. So it's a big change.
Yeah, we heard plenty of stories about that, and we know that preparing the documentation is always painful for customers. Okay, let's move to the symptoms.
Yeah, in that table, you've got the role splitted for the persons. Of course, you can deep dive on this documentation after that webinar, but only quick review of this. We can just populate here run books and routine admin tasks, step-by-step onboarding checklist. We can enable audit logs, so every configuration change is recorded and manual effort is postponed. And we can encourage our teams to update content continuously, not just during big projects, but also in daily basis. Can fix that documentation. As we mentioned before, we can just provide Confluence knowledge base, can create only one single space and document all of our process from workflows, custom fields, and statuses. We can prepare runbooks and onboarding checklists to do that things quicker. And we can automate our audit logs to check that change log, what was changed during that time.
I know that sometimes it hears this is something simple, but knowledge management and clear documentation has its benefits. It's the continuity of the new people come in, all the run books. So you don't need to wait for coming back of the Bob from the vacation to do something. For the compliance part, it's really important because it can be really stressful when there is an audit in the company and you cannot find the proper documentation, and this can harm you, to be honest. And the productivity, because the getting back to things which were done in the past and why they were done this way, it's important for the development, for proper usage, etc. There is also one really important thing which I would love to mention here, is that because of the data center end of life, part of we'll need to plan the movement to the cloud. So if you have a documentation around the customizations, scripting done in the past, integration of your instance, there it will be much easier to find out the solution for the cloud migration. And we know that building something from scratch is always possible, but it's taking more time and it's more costly during the project. So let's think about that. Sometimes simple thing can influence your future and your future work. That's why we believe that if you are not doing this properly today, this can influence you for your future. Okay, let's go to the third category. What cluttered fields, workflows, and apps can do to your system in terms of the maintenance and the system hygiene.
If we've got lack of system hygiene in our organization, our Jira could turn into the jungle. Unused and outdated schemes and old apps accumulate, so page could load slower, searches takes a lot of time, dashboards give us consistent results. So our frustrated users may abandon our application and they won't track in Jira. They will go to the spreadsheet, they will go to the other applications, to the chat, and preventing this is crucial. So we need to schedule regular cleanups and monitor growth of custom elements, but we've got a lot of many other symptoms and real-life examples, what you can see on that tables.
There are quick fixes that can instantly help your teams in this area. First of all, the field usage audit. You need to know what fields are used by your team, how they are using it, if there is something which is a duplicate or you can retire something. It's quite important to make sure you are thinking about during the cleanup process. You can always think about the simplification of the workflow. I saw once a print version of the workflow created for the customer, and it was A0 format. So it was so huge. It has more than 150 statuses. It was impossible to manage, and it was impossible to even go through. So there is always a room for simplification, and simplification is something we are normally gaining also during the migration project. Then the third fix is the app rationalization. So you can always think about the situation that you have 2-3 apps which are similar, and sometimes they are doing the same, but one wanted something, the second wants something else. We can think about the optimization in this area, and this is something you can look for also as a cost optimization. This is an example of the audit table where you can find plenty of examples in which area and what you can look for and what can fix this. You can look at it and try to find things which you can use on your instance to make sure your hygiene is proper. And there is a next one here. So making a cleanup is always a good thing, especially if you're doing this one per 6 months or annually. And this is connected also with the fourth category, which is the user experience, because sometimes the setup just hurts your Jira usage. So pure UX in general is the fastest way to kill the adoption of the future. Common issues here are like you have 20 plus fields on the screen, confusing statuses, over-engineered workflows, people don't know where to click, what to do. And the consequences is, first of all, the cost of training, because it's repetitive task, because people don't know how to use the Jira properly. People are getting frustrated, and we're getting inaccurate data because they are not proper in the instance you are using. So when Jira is easier to use, people actually want to use it instead of taking the phone or sending the email or the Slack message. Szymon, I believe you have a story of one of the customer here.
Yeah, well, I've got one example. This is retail company. Problem they've got: all customers requests went into one undivided service desk with no SLAs. Support agents had to manually route every ticket, and it's leading to multi-day delays. And email notification is misconfigured, and also the customers don't know from which team they are receiving that email, so it provide a lot of confusions for them. And what is impact? Customers avoid to use the portal, and they report issues by the phone or the email. And net score of NPS was dropped by 30%. So what fixes here we proposed? We create separate queues for IT, logistic, and returns with clear SLAs. We enable Confluence knowledge base to link the request forms to make it easier for them. And we redesign email notification to ensure consistent and automated status updates to be sure that all information is relevant to the tickets which customers created. And what was the results? Portal usage increased by 60% in only 1 month. And NPS returned to previous level, and phone-based requests dropped by a half. So in that 1 month, it was a huge progress for them.
Yes, it was impressive, and sometimes small things are doing the change. Why the pure Jira configuration costs you? In general, there are different type of the areas like the training. So especially when we have the onboarding process, the higher of the cost of the training is increasing. The onboarding process can be slower. Admins can be overloaded. We have similar apps which we are paying for 2 times, sometimes 3 times. And the internal policies, there can be hundreds of hours in the big organization which are wasted for creating the tickets. So we can think about that in this area. I know that there are plenty of companies who are not measuring that, but we see that sometimes simplification can make a huge change. So there are things which can significantly improve UX. There is plenty of ideas here on what you can look for on your instance, like optimization dashboards, adopting the clear naming for projects, for fields, not duplicate them for every single team in the company. And by that, we are moving forward to the fifth category, which is the compliance and security. And this is the risk you cannot ignore. Szymon, let's deep dive into that.
So security problems often go in silence. Many users with global admin rights, former contractors who still have access, or missing audit logs may go unnoticed until something goes wrong. We've got one example of our customer that they don't take permissions from one of the contractors, and they've got still permissions for this person. And after that, it happened that they want to have a new client. So they put a lot of information in one of their projects in it. And this former contractor just go to that project, read about it, and start to contact with that client themselves, and they take this customer from them. So it's a very big problem. So we need to know what is our change log, what is our process to take that permissions. But we've got a lot of more symptoms here, like audit logs to track to configure changes, or permission granted ad hoc. It's very common situation that we just give access for someone only for 5 minutes, but we forgot to take these permissions later. And legacy projects also have some schemes, and we just left it unmanaged. But we need to also to remember that if we archive some projects, we need to also take permissions from it if other people don't need them anymore. And here we've got example of security risk. At the beginning, we've got weak permissions. Users have access to our broad. Unauthorized changes to or data leaks, unmanaged external accounts, my previous example. No audit logs, we cannot track our changes anywhere, and it's impossible to prove compliance in audits. Too many admins, everyone have access to our system, can change everything, and do a lot of mess in our ecosystem. Legacy projects and schemes, all data left in our system, unnecessary information are still exposed to all of the people. And unused or abandoned apps, old marketplace apps are still connected. It could happen that this app, for example, don't have our data residency anymore, or could happen that this app is not maintained by the vendor and we've got security risk because they don't maintain this app anymore. And here we've got a table to check if we are compliance ready. We've got a few areas here. After this webinar, you can deep dive on it and you can ask yourself these questions. And if one of them is no, you're probably on the risk in one of these areas. The same as what you can do, we've got also this risk information, what is consequence, and information how to can go and fix that on your organization.
Yes, and we are smoothly moving to the last category, which is the reporting and KPIs, and why lack of the metrics hides the Jira value in general. So without metrics, leadership sees Jira as just an IT tool. And this is something we've heard plenty of times. The symptom is there are no dashboards, no SLA visibility. There is a manual reporting done every month or every week the same way by the same people. But there are really quick fixes like standardized dashboards, translating technical data into KPIs or OKRs, and or the integrated with BI tools. So sometimes it's really easy to show the ROI of Jira and simply make it relevant to the C-level, to business people who can simply see the specific dashboard or report and see where is the problem. We had a customer where it was exactly a similar story. There was an IT who were heavily using Jira, but the business people didn't see the value in it at all because they didn't understand the data they had. So it was simply talking to the business people, what do you need to see on your dashboards? What kind of the information you want to have in the reports to make sure you know what is going on? And it was simply in the terms of the project management, for example, to create such dashboard, we were saying, okay, we are fine with those projects, with those not. And it was just a quick look. Okay, I know what the Jira is about and what I need to get from this tool to make sure I know how to make the proper decisions. So the data in Jira are really important, but the showcasing of the aggregated data for the people who are, making the decision is really important, because this is not only tool for the IT, but for everyone who needs those data to think about the future of the organization. There are simple fixes like the standardized dashboards. We speak the same language the people need to have, business-focused KPIs, which are translated into technical things, and taking them, the things we have in Jira in general. You can connect Jira with the BI tools like EasyBI or the Atlassian Analytics for deeper insights and the cross-alignment between teams. The dashboard you can see and you can prepare for the different personas. So you can think about the SLA trends for the service desk the managers, etc. You can think about the backlog health for Scrum Masters, etc. But being in IT is also the responsibility of asking the question to the business people, what you need from me and what I need to prepare for you to make sure you are getting the proper information from the system. And there is a reporting process we prepared, so you can deep dive into that. Maybe you will find something useful for yourself. But at the end, I want to say that each of those 6 categories, sometimes they are connected with each other. So without the strategy, it's really hard to make sure that the data will get the proper information during the reporting. And by the system hygiene, you can kill the adoption, so the UX will be harmed somehow. So you need to think that it's not only one area I am taking and I am everything to make sure it's done properly, but you need to think about all those 6 dimensions together. So still, if you have any questions around that, there is something which you have on your mind, and we are open to deep dive into that with you, and we want to make sure that the benefit we are talking about will be useful for you. So we can give you a free system hygiene and maintenance audit if you want to deep dive into what you have on your instance right now, what you can gain by changing sometimes simple things. We are ready to go through with that with you and help you and give you the recommendation, which we will create it based on the experience we do have thousands of different customers we were working with. Of course, this is at no cost. This is not a sales pitch. This is working with the technical people like Simon. and creating the proper messaging for the people. Okay, this is the end of the content. So I've already said that there will be a link to the Knowledge Hub after the webinar will end. You will find there all the webinars replay from our previous webinars. You will find the recording from this one, the presentation, all the materials we have prepared. And we should go smoothly to the Q&A session, but I didn't see any question right now. So if something comes to your mind right now, you want to ask about anything, this is the great moment for that. You can, of course, land on the private. Here is an email to me and to Simon. So we will be also able to answer them after the question. So if there is nothing landed on the chat, okay, there is one question. We have an instance with 13 years of age, and your question is really important. And I believe that at the beginning, you need to start and thinking, what do you have on your instance and how to prepare for the changes, to the merges, etc. And the fresh start is also possible. I believe that your question is something we can deep dive during the session after. So we will probably reach out to you directly and try to make sure we'll answer everything. Okay, so thank you very much. If there is no more question, then we will be more than happy to end this conversation today. Thank you for staying with us until the end. We are planning next webinar, so stay tuned. Okay, there are two questions. So facing the migration to cloud, isn't it better to do the hygiene on the data center platform or during after the migration process? So definitely doing it in the data center will be useful because you can get the information what to prepare for the migration and what you can simplify it after or for preparing. When we are thinking about the migration, it's always good to make sure that during the assessment phase, you will also do the cleanup and do all those checkups. Szymon, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Of course, we don't want to move a lot of mess during the cloud migration, but you need to remember that in some cases, for example, if you are changing your scripts to new process, you need to be sure that that script will work also on the cloud, because it could happen that you need to anyways do some reconfiguration of after cloud migration, because in the cloud this ecosystem is a little bit different, and you need to go with this specific way to be sure that all of your changes and fixes on the data center will work on the cloud the same as you change it on the data center.
Thank you, Szymon. The second question is that, is there an easy way to find custom field with the duplicate names?
Of course, you can just type, for example, my example for testing statuses or testing issues. You can just type this name, like common names like test, like review. But also you've got a specific application, for example, Dr. Pro, which can help you to check. We talked about it in one of the previous webinars. So if you go to the Knowledge Hub, probably you can deep dive in this topic more.
Yeah, it was connected with the cutting of the price of Jira Cloud in general. So there is a wider explanation what application you can use in this area.
Yeah, and
okay.
We mentioned a lot of more application, not only Dr. Pro there, so you can just choose what it's fit to you.
Yes, exactly. So we had also the third question. Does in Jira Cloud numbers of custom fields and workflows matter if is scaled?
Yes, this is still matters. Still, if we got a lot of them, our Jira could go slower. I don't remember the numbers from my head right now, but can contact us after webinars and put you limitation for each plan. Of course, if you are on the standard, then you are on premise, and you're on enterprise. This instance will work much faster, and this limit is much higher, but still there is some limitation, even for having Jira issue tickets in your organization.
Okay, it looks like we have finished the Q&A session. So thank you guys for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I hope to see you on the next webinars we are planning. This is the end for today. Thank you and see you soon.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.